Boo doo doo. Did I get it to work finally? Only... Zero clue. Have no clue if it's working. I don't think it's even working. Why? It says I'm streaming. The thingy says I'm streaming, but it doesn't seem to be working out that way. I don't know. Let's see. I should be able to see it here, though. Like, right? Oh. Okay. Maybe it's working. I have zero clue at this point. I barely know what I'm doing. Okay. Maybe it's working. I have zero clue at this point. I barely know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. I think we're good. I think it's working. Okay. Well, let's give this a shot. Let's just go ahead and give this a shot because it's already been way too long. And okay, so hi everybody. I'm back for a short live stream because, you know, it's been a long time and I promised videos and then I never deliver, and, you know, here I am. We're going to do this map that I started working on sort of just because I got bored one day and I was working on my my Great Midland and Southern that I'm continuing to promise that I'm putting a video out on it. It is coming. Its progress has been a little slow because so rolling line I am learning has a little bit of an issue when you put too much on a layout, and what ends up happening is it starts to lag. And you're thinking for a low poly game like Rolling Line that you wouldn't have that issue. That was at least my thought with it. But so what's happened is that I've built so much in the GM&S layout that it's starting to lag, and I did a bunch of things like I tried to upgrade my RAM, and I'm just sort of like I even sent a message to their troubleshooting forum on Steam, and I haven't heard anything back yet. So I'm kind of seeing is it me? Is it my computer? Is it the game or what? So Anyway, that being said, I kind of took a little bit of a break from the GM&S, and in that process, I got this sudden like motivation to do the old Pure Marquette in Michigan, the CSX, the Saginaw subdivision, sort of like the gateway to Michigan for CSX, and so that's what we're doing here. That's what you're seeing in front of you. This just took like maybe 8 total hours of gameplay to put this together. I have a problem, everybody. I have a serious problem. This literally was almost on accident, and it's not completely fully done. There's lots of little things that need to be, we're working on like the small details, but the big stuff like, track placement and getting kind of the signals in place and all that, that's all like good to go now, pretty much. And it's, I'm still kind of working through some stuff here. I recently did a track upgrade because with one of their new rolling line updates, they have set up a new, more detailed looking track. I don't know what you want to call it, appearance. That's just a little bit more arrow, like it looks a little bit more defined. So I went and I did that upgrade there because it looks really cool. The entire layout. And then what ended up happening is after I did that, all of my switches that were like set for AI locks and in the right position and all that, well, that all got messed up. And so all the trains started going in all these different directions and all that, and I've had to spend a little bit of time on that today, trying to get that to work properly. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Anyway, let's look here. I have to get a train moving that is currently... Nope, it's getting pushed. Yeah, see, this is what I was trying to avoid. You need to stop. Put you there for a minute. I have to work on adding a few more signals right here because we end up kind of getting a traffic jam in New Boston here, and then a bunch of trains all get stacked up. So we're going to have to work on that today. We're going to get you moving. Okay. So he's moving. He's on AI now, so he's going to follow the signals. This guy... I want to get him moving. Man, I'm sorry, it's probably really wacky the way this is moving around on the screen. I apologize. Let's get you moving. Okay. The error, or not error, well, maybe it's a little bit of an error, but the era that I'm currently displaying here is early 2000s CSX, which is why you see a lot of these BN green engines right here. Are you going to stop? Thank you. Nope. Acting like he doesn't want to stop. Okay, he slowed down a little bit. That's good. Okay. Nope. That's kind of... Okay, he doesn't have to now. Anyway, so early 2000s, CSX, it was right after the Conrail merger, and CSX was like short on power, so... they were running just about anything they could get their hands on at that point, and that was a lot of lease engines. So that's kind of what we have. When I started doing all this, I was using B&O, C&O, chassis stuff, and I was messing around with that, and it's cool. I like the 2000s, though. That's kind of my era. That was when I grew up looking at the trains and stuff. So a lot of memories from the early 2000s. So you still had a few chassis engines at that point. A lot of them looked pretty rough, kind of like this. This has no, identifying marks on it, but you could get the idea what it is. So that being said, let me see. I think I have you moving again. Yeah, because you're just waiting on this signal. So we need to add a signal in here. We can just go ahead and do that on the live stream, a little behind the scenes of rolling line, my layout building here. Let's see, we're gonna grab a searchlight. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. There was an intermediate signal in Waltz, and it was not like that. It was this kind of signal. So yeah, see, this is the issue. Is we got trains that are turning around and they're coming back onto the layout, and then they're getting stacked up right here. So bam. I wonder how quickly. Nope. Didn't like it. That will probably become a problem. Let's see. Stop you there. Okay. So we will, basically this guy is just there for appearances. And I could probably, you know, actually I won't do that. Because we got that one there. I don't really, I guess I kind of do need it. I'll put them right here though. No, never mind. You know what? Right here's fine. Not completely prototypical, but you know, it'll work. Again, some of these are just for appearances only. But this one has to be functional. This will be the most important one. So we're going to set the source track is already set correctly. You can't really see it, but there's a line there. Change the direction on that, and then apply. We'll set the red range. I want it to go all the way up to Sibley Road, which is right here. That way, it'll hold the train up, and then I'm not too concerned with the yellow, but we'll go with that. These trains are moving slow anyways, just because. But that one should be set now. I'll worry about that one in a little bit. This one, since we do have it here, we'll go ahead and extend him out to Carlton. That way, yeah, that's just one more light just for protection there, and that should make things run a little bit smoother, I think, in this area. We'll get him moving again. You just tap the train with the Y. You know, select the train, tap it, press the Y key. You're going to get the train moving in AI, which is basically going to move itself based on the signals. Let's see here. Okay, so this is. Yep, we're good there. You did what you were supposed to do. Good boy. Okay. All right. So. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to do that, and now I can go back and we can actually talk about this. So let's just go ahead and we'll go up the stairs here. All right, see, I got like little stairs going down into the basement here. So you just kind of, you know, and then you're down in here into the basement. Got a little sitting area right here. Okay, so this is the well, you know, I don't know exactly what I'm going to call it yet. I labeled it the Pure Marquette. This is the Pure Marquette Railroad, the Pure Marquette district of CSX, the Saginaw subdivision, as most people know it by. Runs from Toledo to Saginaw, and within this little area here that we're modeling is basically going to be from Carlton to Plymouth. Plymouth over here, Carlton over here. This is going south to Toledo. That is going north towards Saginaw. And of course, if you're familiar with the Saginaw Sub at all, this is Plymouth. This is where the line, the east-west line, crosses the north-south line, and then the east, you're going east towards Detroit and west towards Grand Rapids and Chicago. So let's see, where should I start? Well, I guess we could start in, we could start over here in Plymouth, I suppose. Anyway, the way we got this set up is that there's two staging areas here. There's one here, there's one here. This would be the Detroit, the north staging, you could say, pretty much. That's my washing machine there. It's just a reverse loop right here. So that if you just want to set trains into the AI mode and let them run around, then you can do just that, and they're going to loop around in here. This could eventually become a yard of some sort, But as of right now, it's just a reverse loop. They come back out. They don't actually go out back that same way. What I have them coming in through basically the east exit, and then they reappear on the north exit in this particular arrangement that we got going on here. And then they're moving pretty slow through this section right here, and I believe there's a stop and wait. There's definitely a stop and wait on the south end, but on the north end, I can't remember if I put one down or not. But yeah, so they basically come into this room, they do a little reverse loop, they come back out onto the layout, and then on the south side, it's the same thing. You just, yeah, right in there. This is kind of a mess over here. Got a bunch of stuff that we're working on, and then there's another little loop-de-loop right there. At that point, they're just returning back to the same point that they departed from. Okay, so I'm sure if you are familiar with the Monroe County, Carlton area, this is the kind of more rural, flat. It's for a lot of farming and whatnot. It's a small town. And in Carlton, there are a couple siding tracks that spur off from the main line right here. It's not a yard. It's just sort of maybe a holding area for trains. I spent a little bit of time down there growing up, and I don't ever remember it being used for much more than maybe storage. We have a coal train stored on it right now. This would be a coal train either going to Essexville, the Consumers Plant there, near the Bay City area. And then there's another power plant on the west side of not Mount Morris. Where is it? Well, near Grand Rapids anyway. Muskegon or something. There's another power plant out there. So this train could be going to any one of those locations there. There's an old grain elevator right here in town. We have a couple buildings that I'm working on here. So as you know, if you're familiar with rolling line at all, you kind of lay down these little shapes, these little 3D boxes and different shapes and all that, and you can make yourself some buildings. So that's what we're doing here. It's got to add some windows and stuff. Of course, there's the tower for Carlton. This is the old the DT&I crossing right here. Now it would be CN, and then you'd get your Indiana and Ohio trains that would come through here. But then you'd move on here. You got a crossover that would take you to the Lincoln Secondary. This was the old Pennsylvania Railroad. Then it became Conrail, and now it's a CSX line. Actually, it's technically a Conrail shared assets line, but CSX does utilize this line as kind of a shortcut to get to Detroit. It's basically like a single track line all the way up to Detroit there, and you skip that little like circuit that you have to do. You bypass Plymouth and all the congestion that can be in this area. What's funny is that when I put this together, I didn't really expect it to behave this way, but with the AI trains, they really do behave just like they do in real life. And what I mean by that is it's a traffic jam between Toledo and Detroit. Like, just trains are just always stopped in different places, going slow, creeping along, just trying to make it to their destination. And there's just always stuff going on that slows them down and gets in front of them and delays them. So the same thing is happening on this layout. Of course, this is obviously very compressed, but it's supposed to be. It's a train layout, and I really did try to make this look just like it would be in a basement, obviously. And I think it turned out quite well. This is, again, just like 8 hours of messing around. This is what you can do. So, imagine what it would do if you, spent a lot of time working on all this stuff. Anyway, got some farm fields out here to represent the kind of rural parts of southern Michigan, and then we come up to New Boston right here. New Boston, got the TDSI, the auto distribution facility right here. I did have a GP9, but I don't know where it went. That's quite alarming. There is just maybe a rogue GP9 out there somewhere. Anyway, maybe we can find We'll put another one out there. Let's see what we got. I had a GP9 that, I mean, it looked kind of like what TDSI used. At least they used to use. It was just a Milwaukee Road engine. Let's see. This is like the closest thing I could find. I could probably put one together. But it was really cool because whatever little contractor worked out here, they used to have a couple GP9s, and they used to say on the side, New Boston Rail Service. It was just really cool. So maybe I can make a couple of those up. But anyway, yeah, TDSI was sort of like a... oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. TDSI is sort of like a auto distribution center where the auto plants around Michigan, they would ship their finished vehicles to TDSI and then get loaded onto Autorex, and then from there they would depart south for, various destinations in, the United States. And so it was sort of a collection point. I believe they would also offload racks here, so you'd have finished automobiles coming from other places that would be arriving and being offloaded here, and then a whole bunch more that are being built in Michigan and being loaded onto these. They're coming from places like Lansing and Flint, and this is a really big facility. Of course, compressed on the layout, but that's fine. It does the trick. It represents the area pretty well. And then, let's see here. We got this little branch line right here is the Kelsey Hayes Industrial Branch. And if you go over here, you can kind of see we got the curves around here, and then goes into a Home Depot distribution facility, which is pretty big here. You got the CSX local engine here that's working, pulling the loads and spotting the empties, or actually reverse that. It's a distribution place, so it's actually it's receiving loads and they're pulling empties out. But yeah, so then another little industry that's right here as well. One of the cool things one of the reasons why I wanted to include the Kelsey Hayes Industrial Park is because this really cool looking water tower, which I've recreated using the rolling line 3D shapes, it's about as close as I could get, but it had just a really unique looking, kind of iconic water tower. So that would be the front of the facility that you'd see as you're passing by. And then, of course, we've got Interstate 275 right here. We can kind of go back here a little bit. This would be like North Line Road in Romulus, if you're familiar. And then I gotta fix this little dippy-do right here. That could smooth that out a little bit there just to make it look a little better, I think. Let's add that to the to-do list. And this is Romulus. Still got some work to do. Got these, just the shapes are just down. Got to put some windows and doors and whatnot to, make them look a little bit better. But we got the famous caboose in Romulus parked there. And this caboose is actually functional too, because all around the layout I've got these signals right here, like as you see. There's only one that's needed to be functional. Two just kind of get in the way. But in North American railroad signals, there's multiple. So in order to kind of get the effect that I was going for, I've set these other, basically they're dummy signals, and they work off of this track right here with the caboose sitting on it. So if I were to pull the caboose right now, they should light up. Or, well, maybe they won't. Okay, well, that's fine, I suppose. Oh, no. Well, it didn't really work the way I was really going to wow you with that, and that failed miserably, but whatever. We're going to move on. So, yeah, that's how that works. there's basically that signal is the real signal. That one is a real signal. That's a dummy. That's a dummy. That's a dummy. You can see my little dot in the middle here because, as you know, Rolling Line is a virtual reality VR headset simulator game that you're supposed to be able to play with a VR headset, and I never do because I don't have a VR headset. So, anyway, with Romulus, the junction with the Wabash main line, spent a lot of time here. This place means a lot to me, so it was a lot of fun getting to put this together, and I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks okay. To kind of get the effect here, this would normally be a straight line, and underpass would only go through once, but to get the effect on this curve right here, we got the layout looping in the back here and then coming over this way into this short single track section. I think the Pure Marquette, the Saginaw Sub had a few sections of single track, but between Plymouth and Detroit, or Plymouth and Toledo, there was only 2, and this was one of them. And this is the only one that I actually have featured on the layout, but the short section is single track through Romulus it was always single track. It was never double where they took the second track out. It just never made it to double track. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that they were one of the first railroads to adopt the CTC, centralized traffic control dispatching, where they were able to run trains on single track. So I think that had a lot to do with it. That's why this section was never double. But kudos to whoever made these CSX Coke Express cars. I don't know what your name is off the top of my head, but it's on the Steam workshop. You can get them. Everything. One of the things I really love about Rolling Line is that everything is basically free. Once you buy the game, all the workshop items are free to use. You can subscribe to them, and I guess in a way you're not really you're not owning them. You're getting them for as long as the creator has them on the workshop for you to use, and until then, they're available. Okay. But yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there, but yes, the Coke Express cars, really cool. And of course, these were very common to see these unit Coke trains between, somewhere down south in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains, wherever they're making the Coke, to the steel mills in Detroit. That's where those trains would go. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is the single track portion that we just talked about. Then we come to Wick Road right here. Wick Road is where the line opened back up to double track. In order to run this single track section with AI trains, the way I did it, and it has worked out quite well except for the short periods of time where I had kind of messed the switches up a little bit, but in normal operation, this is actually working out really well, because what you do is you set your signals up just like you would on double or single track for whatever. What you're going to do is, on the signals that are granting your train entry into the single track section, you're going to set your signals up, and you're going to make sure that you add a bounds box and treat this like it's a junction. So if you're familiar, you set these signals up. Here, I can show you. Boop. Got to open this layer for edit, and then, oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Okay. You open this layer for edit, and then we can edit the signal. Wrong signal. Nope. Let's see. Hold on. I really know what I'm doing, folks. There we go. I know it doesn't look like it, but so you're going to add a bounds box, and this is sort of like it's a way to set up a junction, usually. But in this case, these bounds boxes are going to protect the single track section all the way until you reach over here. And you're doing this so that you make sure that if there is an opposing train movement, as soon as it starts moving into the single track section, and actually a little bit beyond that, as you can see how I have this set up here, if it moves into this area here, presumably it's going to continue moving through, so at that point it's going to shunt this entire area and set a red signal on the signal that we're talking about, this one right here, which is now currently red. That's just because that train's actually moving through there. So yeah, you set bounds boxes up, and that's how you can control a single track section. At least that's how I've been doing it for this particular. This is the first time I've used a single track section of layout. Oh, and I'm sorry, and then there's one more factor to this. So you set your bounds boxes up. Maybe in theory, because AI trains will set their own switches if you let them. But what you can do is you can set up an AI lock. If you set up an AI lock, you can set that switch to whichever direction you'd like it to go, and AI trains cannot touch it. They can't throw the switch. So if I set the switch to reverse, all AI trains that pass through here are going to go onto the diverging route. If I set this to straight rail, it's going to continue on the straight route. And in order to make this work, you sort of have to have it where it's basically the double tracks are directional only. So in this case, I have it set for straight rail, and all trains that are moving in a northbound direction are going to be on this track right here, and southbound's on this track right here. They obviously share the single track section. When they reach the other end of the single track, this switch is locked for the reverse, and all southbound trains will diverge and continue on that track, and northbound trains will run on this track, which is the general way you run trains anyways if you were to be dispatching them. So it's not completely out of the way of, it's not completely out of the like realism realm to do that. So anyway, let's see. So that was Wick Road, and then you're kind of coming into the Wayne area. Got a rack train going south right now. I just want to see how much more time I have here. This is going to be a short video. This is going to be a little short video. Don't want to go into too much detail, and I will do another video as soon as I can. But this was just another update. So we got some warehouses right here. I believe there's an industry called LKQ, which does like auto parts and all that. I haven't put the spur on for that just yet, but there eventually will be a spur for that. And then there's also in the same little area, there was like a hazardous waste treatment facility. That was actually on the other side of the tracks, but for using that modeler's license, went ahead and just put it over here. So we'll have another spur track that comes off on that eventually too. Let's see. So then we're getting into this area here. Wayne is sort of there's a lot of like it's a more densely populated area. We got a little like apartment place right here. Let's see, we got Wayne Junction. This is where the Michigan Central main line was eventually turned into Conrail and then went to Norfolk Southern and is actually now owned by Amtrak. That's the Michigan line, as most people know it. There are supposed to be some Y tracks that connect here because of the Michigan Assembly Plant, the Ford plant that's located here, but I don't really have the space to do that, and since the cross tracks aren't really going to be functional for train movement and all that, that's not really a point to do that. So it's more of just a representation, as you might see on a real train layout. You kind of have to make sacrifices, and that was one of them. There was like a steel distribution facility here too. So steel coils come into this facility and they get offloaded from the trains and then loaded onto trucks to be distributed to like parts plants and whatnot. This would be the Ford assembly plant. So these are all Ford SUVs. They make the Bronco now. For a long time, and during the period that I'd be modeling right here, that would be the Ford Expedition and no, not the Explorer. What was the other one? The Ford Excursion. I think both of those were built at this facility here at that time. So yeah, that's why we got these SUVs here. One suggestion I would make. So a lot of these buildings are actually workshop items. But one suggestion I would make is that over time, these are great to get started. And then over time, start to build your own facilities using the 3D shapes because, one, you're going to get a more unique looking building that way, but also it does help for every once in a while rolling line will have like a weird glitch or something where you might lose some of your workshop items, or let's say the creator takes them off the workshop or for whatever reason and they disappear. They're going to disappear from your layout, obviously, so you don't want that. So the more default stuff you can do, the better. But otherwise, there are a lot of great items on the workshop that you can use. And I have used a lot of them. And as you can see, like a lot of these buildings you can repaint to, kind of make them look a little bit different. One of the things that I really like about this game is the ability to change the colors of the buildings and plants and a lot of the different items like the vehicles. This is something like you don't really get that in TRS where everything's sort of stock and there's no changing anything. There's a lot of options with Rolling Line, which is one of the reasons why I really like it. And I have, grown to have this like unhealthy obsession with Rolling Line. It's just such a fun game. It takes up so much time because you're just so, it's just so immersive, not immersive. Yeah, I could say immersive. It's entertaining. That's the word I'm looking for. It's just very entertaining. So, Wayne Yard, obviously, more auto racks. It's Michigan. It's the Detroit area. You're going to have lots of auto racks and automobile stuff. At least you used to. Wayne, this would be Michigan Avenue, some buildings too. We got an apartment complex over there, and then got some houses right here, some more workshop items that are amazing. These are, you can search them, they're Midwest houses on the workshop, and you can change their colors too, because they don't look like this by default, but adding like the brown rust or like brick color to them, you can kind of get these, brick housing things, so makes them look more like a brick house versus like a house with wood siding on it. Another apartment complex over here because we're coming into Westland. And this is Newburgh Yard, which another auto parts facility. I think at one point the yard, I think, is just more of a like storage yard. I've seen auto racks parked here, but I do believe this is meant to be a yard for an auto parts facility. There's also a lumber yard over in here as we're coming into Plymouth. The transition from Westland, right here, to Plymouth sort of happens at the Ford Road overpass right here. I tried my best to fit it in here. This would be one of those places where I had to make a sacrifice because I just ran out of space. So this would be where we would end up with another single track section, but instead we just roll right into the town of Plymouth. And in Plymouth, it's a it's not a super big city, but it is a very, it's a larger community, and they have a nice little downtown area, very wealthy community, so everything is very nice in this area. We got a little gas station right here. This gas station was a copy over from my GM&S middle district that I brought over here and kind of messed around with a little bit. Okay, and I have one really cool thing that I wanted to show you too. these signals, which are the stock signals in rolling line, I use them because they're functional. Unlike there's some workshop ones that look amazing. They don't work though. At least as of right now, they don't work. These are the New Zealand signals, and what I've done to kind of hide the fact that they're the New Zealand type signals is I've taken a silver pole and I've placed it over, because if you look at a normal signal, let's see, oops, this is what they normally look like. They got this little red and white stripe down here, which isn't too distracting, but you know, it definitely kind of gives it away as not being an American signal. We cover that up, and then we put this little stop on red signal sign here, which is a unique feature to the state of Michigan. One of the only states that uses this sign on every railroad crossing. So this is how all of these will look eventually once I have time to kind of work through all of that. And then anyways, we come into Plymouth. Plymouth is a junction with the east-west main line of the CSX. This Y that I'm pointing to right here is going to take you to Detroit, so all the northbound trains will turn and go towards Detroit. The train that's coming down now, this intermodal train, is coming from the north, from Saginaw, Flint, that area. That's just because that's how the reverse loop works, is it spins the trains around and spits them right back out this side. I could always fix that. I could always have it where they both come through here. Then I'm dealing with another single track section, and well, we're not really there just quite yet. So there's a lot to kind of play around with, but I think for, you know, an 8-hour or so, you know, period of time working on this layout, there's a lot here for just that short period of time. I'm quite proud of that. Got the Coke train making its turn towards Detroit right now. And then, of course, we got the yard office in Plymouth right here. And then the Plymouth Yard is not the biggest yard in the Michigan area. It was mainly used for, and it still is mainly used for, local trains. It's a base for their local jobs that would serve the Metro Detroit area, I guess, the industries in the Metro Detroit area. And there's like 3 or 4 local jobs that work out of here. So it's a busy yard, but it's just basically local trains. All the road trains are either going to go north towards Flint or east towards Detroit to their bigger yard in Detroit called Rougemere. Let's see. So then that kind of brings us to the north side of this layout. Taken these large panels and I've kind of placed them around the layout to kind of serve as like a view blocker. So this is something that I kind of I got some inspiration from my grandfather. He had a layout just like this with these panels that came down from the ceiling and then also come up from the floor to kind of hide a lot of the non-railroad, the non-scenery items, and it kind of it really brings your attention to the actual layout itself. So that's why I went with that method when putting this together. And yeah, so that is my little update. This is what I've been working on. The GM&S is still coming along. We could just, really quick hop over and I can show you how the GM&S is coming along. Don't look at all these other things that I got. I've got so many other, let's see, this is the one. I got so many other layouts that I'm working on. This is the one that I ended up making, I think, too big. And it's just, there's just so much going on it that I don't really know. I think there's just going to have to be some work that has to be done to kind of kill off or delete some of the items and make it look a little bit less like I have to take a lot of stuff off the layout, I guess, just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. But there's just so much. It's a big layout, and well, what you'll see here in a moment, there's a lot of trains, lots of stuff, a lot of statics displays. as far as like, cars and trains parked on sidings and yards and whatnot. There's a big hump yard. There's just so much going on that, yeah, even with what I would consider to be a lot of like a somewhat powerful computer, it's just still too much. Yeah, so yes, you can just see how this is. I got this. It's skipping. It's very much, it's the layouts. The issue is with the layout here. There's just so much going on. And I wish I could fix this. Like, I thought I had, well, there's always issues. There's always something. Just get rid of you. If you're not familiar with some of the other videos I've done, it's a fictional railroad running in a fictional country in a fictional land, and there's a whole story behind it that, I would love to share with you. The video is coming. I promise it is coming at some point. But there's just so much going on, and I just really wish that it would work. I really wish that it would just run smooth, and I don't know what the problem is other than there's just so much on this that it just can't process everything. And it's sad because there's just so much on here. It's a really cool layout. And I did this one, if you contrast the two layouts, the Pier Marquette's much smaller. Excuse me, the CSX layout that I just showed you, it's much smaller, for one thing. But number two is it was built to look like a train layout. This here was made to, if you were to go down to the, model train size, it's meant to, wow, I can't do that. Hold on. It's meant to look like you're actually there in a real place. The sky's clear and all that. You don't have anything, or not much to obstruct your sight, to make you think you're actually in a train layout. That was the whole point of doing it the way I did it. But again, it's a really cool layout. It's really big. It's got a lot of like operational functionality stuff, but it skips way too much. And if I take the trains off, it stops from somewhat, but there's just so much going on. But yeah, so maybe in the future we can get this thing working and I can get these videos rolling out here, but otherwise it's probably just going to be a matter of, trying to, there we go, trying to slim it down somewhat. But yeah, that's lots of progress lots of progress has been made on other things and not much on this thing. It's been kind of stagnant lately. But anyway, we're going to end the video here. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for your comments. I'm trying my best to, get into this a little bit more. It's been a challenge for some reason that is, unexplainable. I have my motivation to do things a lot of times, and then I just don't get the time to do it, or whatever the case is. But we're gonna try to do some more stuff here, and maybe we can make this thing work at some point in the future. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and subscribe maybe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.